Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Two Soka, Two Sisters of a Certain Age, Conversations with a Therapist and a Doctor. Judy, you usually say that, but I just stole your thunder. Anyway, let's go with the flow. It's been one of those mornings. This is our first Two Soka supplement. It's going to be a shorter version of our normal podcast, and we kind of decided to make it a little bit less formal. Not that the regular podcast is super formal, but we decided to look at some questions from Reddit, and I'm going to discuss some things common to my area of expertise and just make commentary on other things that we might see in the news or things that pop up. And let's get started. So you guys know I am a child abuse pediatrician. So I went to Reddit and I saw a question or a comment. It's UA_flying_platypus_. My friend's daughter may be getting abused. He asked me and other friends for advice on how to proceed. He and his ex-wife have split custody of the girls. She comes back to the house complaining that her mom's boyfriend is being mean to her. He grabs her and leaves bruises on her. She's being told not to tell anybody by the mother because she says, "Daddy will take you away from me and I'll never get to see you again." He's concerned it could escalate to more than just bruises and hurt emotions. What if next time it's a black eye? And then they go on. So, few things in this. Judy, what do you hear as a therapist?
Okay, so there's a dynamic between the spouses, right? Where it's seems like there are, threats being made to the child. Like, if you say something, you're never going to see me. So that's playing upon the child's emotions. Right. So clearly there's some animosity between the ex-partners. But now there is another layered effect with what mom is now saying to the child.
Right.
And how she is managing those feelings.
Right.
And we don't know the age of the child, so I don't know how equipped she is to be able to process this. But in either case, regardless of the age, this is a really lousy position to put your child in.
Yeah.
And then the whole abuse piece, that's a different story entirely.
Right. So, we see manipulation. First of all, we see mom condoning the behavior. If her boyfriend is beating the kid and she's saying, "Don't tell daddy," that is, in the child's mind, mom is choosing the boyfriend over her. I don't know what's going on with mom, but she could have some insecurity, and maybe she's seeking validation from having a man in the home, just any man.
Maybe
and then
mom is also being abused herself by this boyfriend.
There you go. And then she could have a history of trauma that's affecting how she's dealing with her child. It could be that layered trauma. Suppose the previous spouse was also abuser, because people who end up in abusive relationships, sometimes they're poor pickers because of previous trauma that kind of leads them to pick these poor partners.
Yeah, they find themselves in a similar relationship time and time again.
Right.
No, absolutely. But there's so I think there's this whole emotional piece of it, and the dynamics, the relationships, mom to the daughter, daughter to father, mom with the boyfriend, so on and so forth. And then there is what dad is seeing as physical abuse. So from what you read, it said something about the daughter saying that there are bruises. Has dad seen these bruises?
Yeah, I think he's seen the bruises. But the thing is, if you have a kid who comes home, has a bruise, and it is poorly explained, unexplained, or it's a big fat lie, as a parent, you can take a picture of that. And if you are concerned, if your daughter's concerned, mommy says, "I'll never see you again," then you can make an anonymous report to Child Protective Services. You won't get the blame. Mom may assume that you did it anyway, but
Right, right,
it's all reports to CPS are anonymous. What I will say is the ones that are made by mandated reporters, physicians, attorneys, teachers, those tend to be more frequently substantiated. But if
right.
you see an unexplained bruise, document it with photography, and you can make a report to CPS. You can provide, and then CPS will come to your home, and then you can show the picture, and then talk to mom, see what's going on, and then an investigation will be opened up. Anytime you do something to a child and it leaves a bruise, it's abusive. Okay, that's considered abuse. In all 50 of the United States, you can beat your kids, but as long as you don't leave a bruise, which sounds crazy. But
Yeah.
we frequently, in my office, we frequently see kids, and the visit is based on a picture that a parent took and sent to CPS. Sometimes when the kid comes to see me, the bruise may be fading or not be distinct, and then I don't have anything to go on. So if this happens on a Friday, I don't come to the office till Monday. Then you call, I can't see you till Wednesday. The bruise might be gone. So use that for documentation. It's going to be important, though, not to take a picture of every little bump and bruise a kid has from playing.
Right,
If your
right.
kid comes to you on your visitation and the kid has bruise to the elbows, couple bruises to the shin, you ask the kid what happened, I was playing. Don't take a picture of that and send to CPS, because kids have bumps and bruises. I'm
All the
talking,
time.
I'm talking about the handprint on the face, the belt loop, the bruise to the rib cage. The story doesn't make sense. Or the kid has a massive bruise and the kid said, I don't know what happened. They could be lying to trying to protect. But it's important to take note of those bruises. Now, this gets me thinking about something else. If your child has a genital finding that you're concerned about, you might feel the urge to take pictures, but don't take pictures of your kids' genitals, okay? It's never good to have any genital pictures on your camera. It's never good to take that picture, send to your mother. What do you think? Because then, it gets into this gray area. If you
Right.
have concerns about any genital findings, take your kid to a physician and ER. Let them take the pictures so you don't have these pictures on your phone.
Right, because that would be distributing of child
Yeah,
pornography.
and
Yeah,
it's the intention is not pornographic,
of
but you
course,
don't
we know
you
that.
you don't know how it's going to be perceived. And
Right,
another thing is, if you have a contentious relationship with your spouse, don't do one of these body checks and document every single injury that you see. That's psychologically damaging to the kid. And
right,
then you don't want to call a CPS for something that is normal, because that's, again, psychologically damaging. We see this all the time where parents, there's acrimony between the two parties, and then the kid gets bounced back and forth, and the kid is receiving the negativity from both parents, and then they have to have their pictures taken. It is damaging to the child. So don't do that. Don't let your dislike for your former partner affect the mental health of your child.
yeah. Wow.
You have anything
Okay.
to add?
You said quite a bit, but I do want to go back to this question for a second. The father is concerned about their child's
Mm-hmm.
well-being, physical and emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Do something, right? I think he was looking for some advice from family, friends, what have you. But if he has this instinct, he should act upon it. There
Right.
is no harm, no foul with someone saying, you know what, this really isn't anything.
Yeah.
But if he remains silent and is, maybe concerned about the ramifications of this and it escalates, he's going to feel worse. The child will be in a worse position. So I would encourage people to, if there's a legitimate concern, act on it.
Yeah.
Seek out your physician, seek out CPS or DCFS, whatever the the agency is in your area to get some proper guidance. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there are times when you can call into the hotline and you can explain what is going on, and the person receiving the report will say, you know what, I don't feel that that's a reportable offense. So you do have the expertise of that person on the other end to help guide you, or yes, we would like to take this a step further. So
Right.
you
But let me say something. When you do call, they'll get all the information. The intake person isn't saying this is reportable. They'll discuss. So you may not hear when you call it in. They don't rule it out on the phone call. They evaluate it and then it gets ruled out. But you may not hear immediately that it's been ruled out. That's a thing. Yeah.
yeah, in my experience, I've had people, the receiver of my call, saying that that isn't a reportable offense. And then other times saying, absolutely, we will follow up with this. And then I hear back a couple days saying an investigation has started or not started, it's been substantiated or not, so
Hmm.
on and so forth. So you can get some feedback after you place that call.
I think it's because you're a professional
That, yeah,
that you get
maybe
that
there you go.
immediate. Yeah, because if it's a regular person, it's
Okay.
because you're a professional. Yeah,
Okay, that's a really good
yeah,
point to make, Candy.
yeah.
Thank you for noting that. But no, I just, as a parent, I think we
Hmm.
have these instincts as parents, right?
Yeah,
We know, because I remember thinking my children had bruises up and down their shins, right?
especially Grayson.
Yes, especially Gray. And it's like I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if a stranger were to look at these children, they think they're being harmed.
Hmm.
But what I realized, I'm like, no, that is normal childhood
Right,
bruising because they fall so
right,
frequently. So I think as a parent, you're able to distinguish, like, oh no, that's just normal
right.
wear and tear,
Yeah,
as opposed to, huh, that's concerning.
yeah. And
So
then
trust that instinct.
just to point out, kids who the areas where kids normally bruise are the areas that are poking out. So what is that? The chin, the nose, the forehead, elbows, knees, shins. Okay?
Yeah.
Kids don't typically get bruises on their stomachs. They don't get bruises on their bottom. They don't get bruises on their ribs. Okay? If they have those bruises, there should be a story to accompany it. But like normal childhood play, I wouldn't expect neck bruises. I wouldn't expect ear bruises
Right.
because when kids fall, they fall forward.
Yeah. Candy, as you're saying that, your forehead, because in Jamaica we have
Oh
a
yeah,
term
Judy, a
when
coca.
a
Hmm.
coca.
Hmm.
So I can still feel.
Judy, I don't know what you were doing, running into things, bumping,
But
but
I always had a coca right there.
and it was like hypopigmented. It's like a little white
Yes.
patch, like a cow. Like
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
But I can still feel the peak in my
Uh,
skull of where I hit my
well,
head so many times.
and you know
Um,
what? I talk about you when I give child abuse lectures. I
I
talk about,
didn't know that.
yeah, I talk about your cocos. Okay,
Yeah.
next question. This is from you/Rebecca_747. I was in a foster home for a few years when I was younger due to problems in my family. I was placed with them when I was 6, and they were really nice, and it was good to feel safe after the turmoil of my family. My foster dad was more involved in my care day to day, and after a few months, he started molesting me. It felt weird, but I didn't feel afraid or anything, so I just let it happen, and it became part of my life. I was with them until I was 12 when I was placed back with a family member. I'm pretty sure my foster mom knew what was happening, but she was never involved in it. Okay. Okay, that is a horrible
Yeah,
situation
this is so loaded. I mean,
because,
first, we children are removed from their homes, their biological parents, because there's a problem there. There's
yeah.
something that is harmful for the child. And then
Hmm.
to be placed in a space where it's supposed to be safe
Yeah. Yeah.
and then it's not.
Yes. So this is an issue that we see quite a bit children going into foster care and they end up getting abused in foster care. It can be
Yeah.
physical abuse, it can be sexual abuse. And I hate to tell you this, but some people go into foster care just to have access to kids. Okay, I'm going to say that again. Some people go into foster care to have access to children. So, of course, don't get your kids in foster care, but sometimes it's not that easy. You may have issues related to food insecurity, housing insecurity, drug and alcohol dependence, mental health issues. Those are all the things that frequently lead to foster care placement. But God, couple of things. That person has 6 years of trauma. And then that's new trauma, and then with the family trauma. So that is going to have to be addressed. You're going to have to seek mental health therapy, mental health attention. But you need to tell. You need to tell that you were abused in that home, because maybe they continue to have foster kids in the home.
Right.
How many people has he done that to? You know? And the thing is, like, where was the mother? You know,
Right.
where was the mother? I just feel like when a kid is placed into foster care, like, you're getting paid to take care of these kids. And I feel like you need to take better care of these kids, just because, you know, they're more vulnerable.
Right. Right. You have a duty and a responsibility to those children. And for them to leave your foster home in a worse
Right.
space than when they entered, I mean,
But
this is just
But
horrific, criminal.
another layer to this is she felt safe in the foster home. She may be reluctant to tell because she doesn't want to go into another foster home and have it be worse. So sometimes you just get used to whatever abuse you're suffering, because you kind of weigh it and say, well, I could go into the unknown, or I could accept this that I'm in. Everything else is good. I have food, I go to school, nobody's on drugs. But, you know, and this happens a lot in your home of origin, where people will accept abuse because everything else, or the fear of the change, is going to
Right.
keep them from disclosing, from
Right.
letting anybody know. But I see this in my office all the time. Kid is in a foster care, gets placed back to the family, and maybe a year later they say, "Oh, my foster brother molested me." But they have to kind of feel safe to do it.
To be in a
You
space where
know,
they can do
right?
that.
And I don't care how long ago it was. You need to address it, okay? Because you think that it's a long time ago, it's not happening, I'm over, I'm done. But it's a scar. It's a scar in your soul that has to be addressed.
But also, you can always still address this, regardless of your age. You can still address it with the perpetrator. So, for instance, I've been in situations with clients who are now over 18, right? And they might be disclosing for the first time, like, this happened. Maybe it was a father, maybe it was an uncle, so on and so forth. And we ask the question, do you think this person still has access to children? Right? So let's say you leave your foster home and this had happened. Do you think they still have access to other children?
Right.
Can this person still be perpetrating against other children? So not only do you do it for yourself to try to heal your wounds, your trauma, but to try to prevent this from happening to other little ones.
Yep. And then sometimes when they do an investigation and then they go back and they look at all the foster placements and they speak with those kids, they'll have, oh yeah, you weren't the only one.
Right.
So, you know, you need to protect kids. You just, oh my gosh, kids are so vulnerable. And quite frequently, nobody's looking out for the kids, not even the parents.
Well, you know, Candy, and that goes back to the idea, and we've talked about this before, that people think, oh, they're too young. They don't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
They don't have it. It's a non-issue, or they're not aware. They don't really understand what's going on. Why are we selling our kids short?
I
They know
know.
exactly what's happening. They know if it feels weird. They're aware if it feels, off at all.
Hmm.
And we need to be able to acknowledge them like, yeah, they're little beings, but we need to let them speak their truth
Yep.
and tell us what's going on.
Yeah. All right. Well, guess what? We just finished our first two Soka supplements.
Woohoo for
We
us.
had two questions and discussion. Hope you enjoy it. Hope that you subscribe and listen to what we have to say. Sometimes I don't think it's going to be question and answer. We may just talk about stuff that happened. We had some stuff happen this morning that gave me an instant headache that I would love to talk about, but we will do it at a later date. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
No Longer Network.